and he was complaining about my grandma, which he does frequently. She's my step-grandma, actually. And he's got a buddy that's a doctor, and he told his buddy, he said, my wife is deaf. She never hears anything that I say. And his doctor buddy said, well, because my grandma's like, I don't know if I need to, do I bring it up to her and say, hey, we need to go get this looked at? And he's like, do me a favor. Stand about 25 feet behind her, say something, and if she doesn't respond, move 5 feet closer, keep on going. Tell me how close you got before she heard. And I will tell you if she needs to have hearing aids. So my grandpa goes home that day, goes in the kitchen, my step-grandma's making some dinner. And he's about 25 feet away, and he's like, right, perfect. Says, honey, what's for dinner? Nothing. Moves 5 feet closer. Honey, what's for dinner? Nothing still. He's like, wow, it's worse than I thought. Gets to 15 feet. Honey, what's for dinner? Nothing. He gets to 10 feet, asks her for the 4th time. Honey, what's for dinner tonight? Still, just dead silence. He's like, wow, this girl is deaf. So he gets right behind her, 5 feet away. Honey, what's for dinner? And she slams down the fork and turns around and goes, for the 5th time, it's spaghetti. You shut up, quit asking me that. So here's a painful lesson my grandpa learned, all right? Let's start this thing on a positive note, ready? Sometimes the problem is you. My grandpa had to learn that very painful lesson, okay? I like to say just positive, uplifting things like that all the time. This painful lesson I've had to learn many times. I'm going to take you through a little bit of my journey because there's been a lot of times that I've had to realize that painful lesson that the problem was me. That I had to change a little bit or tweak something or grow or whatever, overcome something to make this thing work. I got the phone call, I got involved right away, and I was excited right away. I did not incubate at all. I got to work right away. But I had a lot of frustrating times. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you guys real quick, my first exposure, I'm telling you, there's nobody in this room that had a worse first exposure than me. My first exposure, I decided how I was going to get rich in this thing was I went to school. I was a full-time student. I sat down with my laptop. I typed up a fake email. I'm not joking. A fake email to a fake email address telling my friend, Rod, or whatever the fake guy's name was, about this opportunity. And I typed it up, and there was a kid that was like really popular in the, it's a chiropractic school, no one's really popular there, but he was, among us, he was the most popular. Anyway, I slid my laptop to the guy, and I'm like, hey Tyler, can you read this for me real quick? And he's like, yeah. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself as he read my 10-minute email, that by the time he gets to the bottom of it, he's going to be ready to sign up. He's going to be excited. And he literally proofreads and slides it back to me and goes back eating his apple and looking at his book, and he goes, grammar's fine, I'm not interested. Just like that. He almost knew what I was doing. That was my first exposure. Okay, I remember learning from that a little bit, but not really. I remember printing up bright orange flyers and heading out all around the school. How many of you have done flyers? Anybody? I did flyers. Okay, I can't believe you guys just admitted that. I'm going to change the title of this talk real quick. I'm not going to do what 3 things do I do differently when I was 20, or what 3 things do I wish I'd known when I was 20. I'm going to change it to what 3 things do I wish I would have known if I was starting the business today. Because not everybody in here is 20, right? Some of you are 21, 22. So if I was starting today, okay? We're doing flyers. I remember we actually had meetings where I'm not going to take credit for this, but I had a buddy named Clint who posted flyers to telephone poles in downtown Kansas City. And we had meetings with homeless people. I'm not joking. We had a meeting where 4 people showed up and 3 of them were homeless, all right? Turns out none of them had the money to sign up, okay? I'm not joking. And there was a guy that had a really nice house, and we thought there was going to be all these people, and we told him, hey, we got all these people. Can we have it in your house? And you should have seen the look on his face when all these homeless people walked into his house. He was not happy. So all these things, so anyway, the point of this is, guys, I'm working hard. That first several months, I'm working hard. I'm putting effort in this thing. I'm working every day. I was going through the numbers every single day, and it's not really growing. How many of you feel that way? Going through the numbers, not really growing. And you know what I was doing at the end of almost every day? I'd call my upline just complaining. Just honestly, I'd call my upline kind of pissed off and complaining and upset. And I was Mr. Negative. And you can, if you don't believe me, I want you to ask him. Go ask Tyler if he ever had a conversation with me where he had to calm me down and be like, dude, it's not that bad. Or my dad, I called him, half the calls were to him. He probably got sick of it, okay? Marcel, not really, because I learned you can't call him with negativity because he'll just dismiss you from the phone call. But I'm calling my upline negative, upset all the time. And then one night, I lay down in my bed. I don't know why I did this, but I lay down to go to sleep, and I pull out my laptop, and I put my headphones in, and I go to YouTube, and I just type in Jim Rohn. I hit enter, and I watch a video. And in this video, he's talking about his mentor and how his mentor said, make a list of all the stuff, all the reasons you failed in life so far. And he writes all the stuff down, and he had to do his list. His mentor reads the list. He goes, Mr. Rohn, there's just one problem with this list. You ain't on it. And I watched that video, and it kind of hit me. And so I watched another. That first night, I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning. I missed my first 2 classes at school the next day because I was watching that stuff. And I started this weird habit where I'd come home and every single day, every night, as soon as it was too late to call anybody, I was on YouTube watching. I became obsessed with Jim Rohn. I watched probably thousands of hours of that guy. I started calling my upline. I started calling the people who were my mentors. And rather than complaining to them, I started trying to listen to them a little bit. I started asking them questions and my goal was to try to get inside their heads and kind of learn how they think. And so the first thing that I had to do, and if there was one thing that I could tell a brand new person starting over today, there's a daily habit you guys have got to start right now. You guys learn to live the law of association, okay? Basically, simply put, if you have no idea what that means that you are going to become like the people you listen to. It's inevitable. It's an inescapable truth. You're going to become just like whoever it is that you're listening to. If you're listening to negative people, you're going to tend to be kind of negative, okay? If you're only listening to yourself, if you're stuck in your own thoughts all the time, then you're going to just stay exactly like yourself. You can't teach you to be a millionaire if you're not a millionaire. Does that make sense? So you've got to pick a mentor. That's kind of the first thing I want to talk about. You've got to pick a mentor. You've got to pick a few mentors, a few people who have actually gotten what you want, all right? People who have the results you want. And then you've got to spend some time with them every single day. You've got mentors in this business, every single one of you. You know how you get attention from somebody in your upline that makes a lot of money? Just call them all the time. People ask me all the time, will it bug you if I call you every day? I said, no, it'll bug me if you don't, okay? Get on the phone with your upline, your mentors, until you start to think like them. You can have YouTube mentors. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? There's people out there who have achieved great success in this industry. And for me, I do this almost religiously. I still do it every single day. Here's one thing I don't understand. Raise your hand if your goal here is to get wealthy. Dave, you got a problem. There's 11 people in this room that want to get rich.
That is the problem.
All right, no, forget that. Stand up if your goal is to get rich. Please, stand up. You don't have, I'm not guilting you, you don't have to. Okay, listen, you can sit down. First of all, let me just say this. Can I say something controversial, Dave?
Yeah.
Do I have your permission for that?
Break every rule there is.
Okay, great. Do not let self-righteous people make you feel guilty about wanting to have a lot of money, okay? That's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with that. If you'd like to get rich, then go get freaking rich, all right? So don't let people make you feel guilty about that anymore. I'm serious, all right? Money's not bad. You know, as a matter of fact, the law of association, every time I hear somebody talk about how money's root of all evil, I disassociate from that person. I don't listen to negative people, okay? So if your goal is to get wealthy, here's my point in that question. If your goal is to get wealthy, you guys, it doesn't make sense that you're sitting in your car listening to music. That doesn't make sense to me. How in the world is Beyonce going to make you rich? Every time you turn on Beyonce, you know what you're doing? You're making Beyonce rich. That doesn't make any sense. Okay? If I'm sitting in my car and I'm not calling people, which I rarely do because I have a bad sense of direction, and if I'm on the phone while I'm driving, I get lost 10 out of 10 times. If I'm sitting in my car, I'm listening to somebody who has done what I want to do. I'm listening to them talk, not sing. I'm listening to them, and I'm trying to learn stuff, okay? If it's too late at night to call people, here's the basic rule of thumb, okay? Pick a few mentors and spend at least 30 minutes every day learning to think like them. Every single day. People who are habitually, he said break every rule, I'm not saying sensitive things. People who are habitually failing are good self-entertainers. People who habitually succeed are good self-educators. You've got to learn to stop entertaining yourself and start educating yourself, all right? You can entertain yourself later on in life. You're going to get plenty of time for that. Right now, you guys are in college, working on your PhD, and you do not have time for stuff that does not advance your goals, all right? Okay? This is something I'm very serious about every day. I do this. That's the first thing I wish I'd have known from day one. Live the law of association. So I started doing that, and we started to grow. All of a sudden, it starts to grow. And I grew it to Pro 6. I'll never forget, it was March of 2010, I hit Pro 6, and it was the most exciting month of my life to that point in my network marketing career. I saw, for the first time ever, I saw a team rallying. I saw people, doing meetings and phone calls. That last 3 hours, the last day of the month was incredible. So April, I went to work on my team. I was so impressed by how much they rallied and got things done in March. I spent April, May, June, July, I worked so hard. I called my distributors every single day. I'd call them, ask how they're doing, what I could do for them, okay? I'm doing all this stuff. I was doing trainings constantly. I love doing trainings. Trainings are so much fun. I would do them probably twice a month. I do trainings. And guess what happened as a result of all that? Nothing, okay? It came screeching to a halt. I hit Pro 6 and I stopped for almost a year, okay? Not only did I not get to 7, for a while, I wasn't even getting any closer to Pro 7, you guys. And I learned the second thing I wish I had known from the very beginning, all right? It is easier to lead than it is to push. Okay, here's the principle. This is what I want you guys to remember. Your team will never do what you tell them to do, ever. It doesn't matter how good you are at telling them. You can do the world's best training and won't do any good, okay? They will do what you do. That's it. That's all they're going to do. So, and this was me. I'm going to tell you something this was me, okay? Don't call your upline complaining that you didn't have enough enrollments on your team last month if you didn't enroll anybody. Because how can you expect your team to go do what you're not doing, right? That was the second thing I had to learn. I had to learn from experience and from flatness that the important eternal truth in network marketing that recruiting trains and training does not recruit. Does that make sense? Okay, having a bunch of team trainings is not going to grow the business. Okay? You grow the business by whatever you decide you want your team to do, you embody those things. You just go do them. It's daily exposures, all right? I'm still looking for people constantly, all right? As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to have 2 brand new team members personally that are joining right as soon as I get home from the Lead Academy. I'm always looking, and I'm not going to stop doing that, by the way, you guys. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to stop sponsoring until I have at least 100 personal enrollments. Why is that? One reason is because I like to make a lot of money for all my negative money is bad friends, so I can show them that it's not bad. But the second reason is because it has to be done. For my group to keep sponsoring, I'm going to have to keep sponsoring, and I'm going to just go to 100, okay? Because I want to show them how to do it. And I don't show them how to do it by sitting down with them and doing a training. I show them how to do it by doing it, okay? So that was the second thing I had to learn. I had to keep on going. I had to keep like Gabe Pearson said, keep your foot on the gas pedal. Don't pull your foot off the gas pedal. Management mode is the beginning of the end. Okay, it's death. Don't go into management mode. So that's the same thing I wish I would have known. You're going to get a team going. Some of you can raise your hand if you have a team right now. If you've got people. Okay, do what you want them to do. Don't tell them what you want them to do. You guys, if you want your team to be sponsoring and finding distributors, then guess what? Get out there and find distributors, you guys. I'm telling you, I promise you, it'll have a huge, huge impact. As soon as you start doing that, the people around you, all of a sudden, they'll start doing the same thing. So that was the second thing that I learned. I started doing that, you guys, and all of a sudden, I was able to break out of that funk and keep on moving. So that was the first 2 things. Just review real quick. Live the law of association every day. Do not let it interfere with your business. All right? I'm not saying 8 hours a day. Don't become network marketing professor. Okay? But 30 minutes a day when you can't make phone calls anyway. Okay? You go number 2. Right? If you go number 2, then spend some time with your mentors. All right? You've got at least 30 minutes throughout the day that you're doing that. Right? Awkward silence. Nobody wants to admit it. Come on. Okay. Anyways, I'll just move on from that. Law of association, all right? Find time for that 30 minutes a day. Don't let it interfere with your business, but you got to find some mentors. Pick a mentor, all right? Pick 2 or 3. Second thing, you guys, don't get stagnant, okay? Don't stop. Picture a train moving down the train tracks. If a train's moving, doesn't matter how fast it's going, if the front of the train stops, what does the rest of the train do? Does it catch up and pass it? No, it stops too, just a few miles back. Don't let that happen. So keep it going. Keep your foot on the gas pedal. That's the second thing. And the third thing, you guys, was this. I had to learn, down to 32 minutes now. I had to learn, you guys, that I had to sharpen my skills a little bit. And I'm going to talk about the skills that I mean when I say skills. But I had to realize that there's usually a pretty big gap between potential and performance, all right? Really, really big gap between the 2. There's a saying in network marketing, and I believe the saying's true. I believe in it. But I'm going to tell you that taken out of context, it can be really detrimental, all right? And here's the saying, all right? You cannot say the wrong thing to the right person. Yes, you can. I've done it. Okay? Now, again, I believe in that quote. When you find the right person, they'll probably get it. But my point of that is this. You're going to let some people slip through the cracks if you're not working on your skills. And so you've got to be sharpening your skills. You have to actually pay attention to being a professional network marketer. And what skills am I talking about? There's, in my opinion, there's 3 skills you've got to master. There's not 10 or 20 or 50. There's 3 skills you have to master. The skills are this: inviting, following up, and closing. If you can master those 3 skills, guys, you can do whatever you want to do in this business. Master those 3 skills. Do you think you have to get really good at giving a dynamic home meeting? You think that's the secret to this business? No. I'm telling you, that's overrated. All right? You don't have to be really good at that. You don't have to be a linguist to do this business. You've got to master those 3 things: inviting, following up, and closing. That's the thing that's the third thing I wish I'd have known in the beginning. I wish that I would have known that I can't really just run around crazy and, energetic, and it's just gonna, now that will work in the beginning, but you gotta sharpen those skills. I wish I'd have started working on those skills earlier. Give you an example, okay? with an invite. You guys can go through numbers.